I had the opportunity of working with Robert De Niro, a very interesting thing, and among all these people here tonight, you've done a lot of movies with him, but none of you bastards broke his nose. I broke his nose. Yeah, Mr. Method Prick. Bang!
The funniest things Robin Williams did in front of the people he was mocking. The man nobody could survive. In 1977, the most dangerous comedian alive made a small mistake. His name was Richard Pryor, and he was the man every other comic on Earth was afraid to follow. Pryor had his own television show that year, and one night he decided to invite a young, unknown performer onto it to say a few kind words about him. A tribute, a nice, respectful moment between a king and a newcomer. The newcomer was 26 years old. Almost nobody in America knew his face yet, and instead of bowing to the king, he walked out and quietly took the whole stage apart piece by piece, until Pryor himself was laughing too hard to speak. That young man was Robin Williams. And what happened on that stage was not a fluke. It was the first sighting of a talent that would spend the next 30 years doing the one thing nobody else in show business could survive. He made the legends crack! Not behind their backs, not in private. He did it to their faces, in front of the cameras, while they were standing right next to him. Some of the most serious, most intimidating people in film history. Actors who built entire careers on staying in control fell apart the moment he stepped beside them. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Jack Nicholson. None of them stood a chance. In the next half hour, I'm going to walk you through the 4 times he did this best, including one moment on a film set that made an Oscar-winning actor stop the entire production and demand to know who was responsible.
Who did that? Who did that?
It's me, Mr. Pacino. Nice to meet you.
Oh, hey, Robin, it's you. Okay, we'll start. Let's do this.
And I want you to stay with me to the end, because the funniest thing Robin Williams ever did was not actually a joke. It was something he did for the person standing next to him. And once you understand it, you will never watch any of these clips the same way again. Let's start with the night he met the king. The night a nobody roasted the king. To understand how bold that 1977 moment really was, you have to picture where Robin was in his life.
Thank you. We'd like to start on the other end now. A gentleman by the name of Robin Williams. Robin, please.
Mork from the planet Ork had not happened yet. The show that would make him a household name was still a year away. He was a club comedian out of San Francisco, sharp and fast, but he was a nobody on a national stage.
Thank you. Oh, say what it was. Thank you. Get down, Funky. Okay, get back up.
And Richard Pryor was a mountain. So when the cameras rolled and Robin walked out to honor him, the safe move was obvious. Be gracious, be small. Hand the great man his flowers and step aside. He did the opposite.
18 years ago, they greet him in small towns by tying a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. Then they try and hang him with it.
He started praising Pryor in a way that slowly turned into the gentlest, funniest takedown you have ever heard.
All I can say, though, is this man's a genius. Now, who else can take all the forms of comedy, slapstick, satire, mime, and stand-up, and turn it into something that'll offend everyone?
Every compliment had a little hook hidden inside it. He'd call Pryor a genius in one breath and tease him in the next, so smoothly that you almost didn't notice the floor had been pulled out until you were already laughing. And here's the thing that makes it special. Pryor, a man who controlled every single room he ever walked into, simply gave up and enjoyed it. He let the kid run. He laughed like everyone else. That right there is the whole Robin Williams method in a single minute.
No, but this man doesn't want any frills on his show. All he wants is a loose director, a tight script, and a warm place to rehearse.
He never really attacked anyone. Think of comedy as a high wire stretched across a canyon. Most comedians stand safely on the platform and throw stones at the people trying to cross. Robin did something stranger and braver. He grabbed you by the hand and pulled you out onto the wire with him. And then he made you laugh at how terrified you were to be up there. You weren't his target. You were his partner. That's why nobody ever resented it. And if making another comedian laugh sounds easy to you, hold on, because the next man on this list does not laugh. The next man screams for a living. The scream on the set. If you have never watched Al Pacino work, here is everything you need to know. He is what they call a method actor. Before a big emotional scene, he does not sip his coffee and scroll through his phone. He disappears into the character completely. On a film set, that often means standing alone in a corner, winding himself up, building the rage. Sometimes screaming to find the voice he needs. And everyone around him understands the unspoken rule. You do not interrupt Pacino's process. You leave the man alone. Now picture Robin Williams arriving on that set for the very first time.
Yeah, I got to do, the great thing for me is no matter what movie it is, I get to work with extraordinary people. I've worked with, people like Glenn Close, John Lithgow, Walter Matthau, Max von Sydow, Robert De Niro, Pacino. I didn't get to work with Brando. I met him, and he was very, very excited to go, "You're so funny. I couldn't work with you because I'd be laughing all the time and I'd drop my chicken."
And how did people like De Niro and Pacino?
He's never met Pacino. He walks in, and from across the room, he hears it, that famous low building scream coming from the corner where the great actor is preparing.
Well, the weird thing with Pacino is, he's a method actor. So he would, the first day on the set, I came to visit, and he was on. He prepared for the scene by doing this kind of "Rah! Rah!" And I was backstage. I went me. And he got, "Who did that? Who did that?"
It's me, Mr. Pacino. Nice to meet you.
We went, "Oh, hey, Robin, it's you. Okay, we'll start. Let's do this. Let's do this."
So Robin screams back. Think about the nerve of that for a second. One of the most intense actors in the history of American film is in the middle of a private, almost sacred ritual, and a comedian he has never met answers the war cry like the two of them are singing a duet. Pacino spun around. He wanted to know who on earth had just done that, and the moment he saw it was Robin, something melted. He didn't get angry. He just said, "All right, let's start. Let's do this." And that tells you something deep about both men. The tension Robin punctured was tension Pacino had put into the room himself. It was self-made pressure. Robin's only crime was that he refused to be afraid of it. He looked at the scariest energy in the building and treated it like an invitation to play. He had a private read on every great actor like that. De Niro, he'd tell you, was the easy one.
With De Niro, I know him, so he's like, "Let's try. It'll be fun. It'll be good. That'll be good. That's nice."
De Niro would just shrug and say, "Let's try it. It'll be fun. It'll be good." The hard ones, the fun ones, were the serious ones.
And my favorite, the guy to work with who's probably the craziest, most wonderful, is Chris Walken. Because he says things in the weirdest way anybody does. I love you so much, I can't shit. But it is the way that I do it,
And Robin lived to find the small crack in the most serious people in the room.
When after you get to work with all these people, the whole experience of making movies is just the joy of working with all of them. Plus, great cinematographers, great directors, great crew in weird places, and for me.
And gently widen it until they broke. Which brings us to the most serious room on television, a place built for thinking, not laughing, and the man who ran it. The smartest man on television holding a banana. In the 1970s, Dick Cavett hosted what was probably the most intelligent talk show in America. He didn't book loud, silly guests. He booked authors, thinkers, filmmakers. People came on his show to have real conversations about real ideas, and Cavett himself was famous for being one of the sharpest, most articulate interviewers who ever held a microphone. This was not a man who did banana jokes. Robin came on to discuss, and listen to how dignified this sounds, the theory of comedy, the nature of laughter itself.
To have a nice, studied, serious seminar on the theory of comedy.
The nature of comedy as we see it.
A thoughtful seminar between two intelligent men about what makes human beings laugh. He walked out, armed with a banana.
I have no idea why I have this. It was backstage and something told me it was a good idea to be armed with a banana before coming out here.
I always wash mine before I eat them.
What follows is a slow, beautiful collapse.
Whoa!
Mother gave this so I could write my new book.
Buddha, no, an ode to Fred Silverman.
Take two, let's go. Let's start from the beginning again. Otto, props, let's go.
Oh, look. Better not touch that one. My God, there's a skeleton with red clothes on. That's real sick.
Oh, no. There are children watching.
You're right, they're going,
No, he's not dead. He's living in Miami Beach.
get away from there, you boys. Get away from the magazines. You make the pages stick together.
This is going to be an unusual program.
Yes?
Cavett keeps trying to hold the frame together. He reaches again and again for the serious conversation he came to have.
By showing you some brief slides, here we have Nefertiti and Ramses saying, not tonight, it's my pyramid.
Where does it say that?
It's back here on the slide.
Oh, yeah.
We examine another one back here. We move along. Let's move a little bit farther back. You see several Cro-Magnon men laughing at a Neolithic man saying, how many Neolithics does it take to light a fire? Once again, that wasn't on there.
No, you
Look
made
at this
that
slide. Miss Lola doing incredible things with a chihuahua. Okay. What? That scared you?
Yes.
Look, toys all over the set. Can we... Don't be afraid. Come on, Mr. Camera. We're going crazy. Come on.
And every single time he reaches for it, Robin yanks the floor out from under him with another sudden character.
Is there anything I could throw at you that would stop you, I wonder? Not that I want
Probably
to.
a gun would be...
I have you... Do you always carry a 50-pound sandbag?
No, that was backstage. We could do all sorts of wonderful things with that. Mm-hmm. Toys.
Another impression, another piece of pure nonsense. And Dick Cavett, one of the most controlled intellectual hosts in the history of the medium, eventually just surrenders and starts laughing like a schoolboy in the back of a classroom. By now, you're starting to see the pattern, aren't you? It did not matter how serious the room was. In fact, the rule was the opposite. The more dignified the setting, the harder Robin worked to take it apart, and the more those serious, careful people loved him for doing it, because for a few minutes, he gave them something they almost never got. He gave them permission to stop performing.
You know, whatever you have is catching, because I'm not usually this weird myself. I'm often very sober. And
The crews backstage are going, he's seeing his career flash before him. Look, Dick, at last a formula to make the entire world stupid.
I want you to hold on to that word, permission. We're going to come back to it at the very end, and it's going to change the whole story. But first, one more of the four big ones, and this one didn't happen in a studio. It happened live on an award stage in front of the entire industry, when one of the coolest men in Hollywood needed rescuing.
What Jack is trying to say here is he's so happy to be here he could drop a log, really. Right now, he wants to thank Jeffrey Katzenberg for the lens and the seats. And way to go, hopefully Shaq kicked his ass tonight.
When Jack Nicholson needed saving. Jack Nicholson. The grin, the sunglasses, the slow, knowing voice. For decades, Jack was simply the coolest man in any room he walked into. Nothing rattled him. Then one night, at an award show, Jack Nicholson is standing on stage in the middle of a speech, and he runs dry. He just blanks. The words are gone. Now, when that happens to most people, they freeze. They panic. They stammer through it. Not Jack. Jack's very first instinct, with the whole world watching and the clock ticking, is to look out into the dark of the audience and call up the one person he knows can save him. He calls up Robin Williams.
My speech was to say, look, it is on television. Robin, would you come up and give... Would you give the funniest acceptance speech I ever...
Think about the trust buried in that decision. Nicholson didn't reach for a writer. He didn't reach for cue cards. In front of every important person in his industry, he handed the most dangerous, unpredictable improviser alive a live microphone and basically said, "Here, make me look good." And Robin did. He always did. He took his friend's most exposed, most awkward moment, a man frozen on stage with nothing to say, and turned it into the highlight of the entire night. He stood beside Jack and started translating what Jack was supposedly trying to express, building a bit on the spot, while Nicholson stood there, helpless and delighted.
But Jack, say it more, Buddha, because you're dressed up tonight and wearing the sunglasses inside works even better. Show off the teeth, baby!
That is the secret to why the legends let him so close. The risk of standing next to Robin Williams was enormous. He could say anything. But the payoff was that he would take your worst moment and make you the funniest you had ever been.
I can't believe how many times he's made me laugh tonight. You know, and then I thought, well, I can't be that way unless I get Robin out because I'm going to be going after Stephen.
He didn't steal the spotlight. He aimed it at you and made you shine.
I want to thank Jack Nicholson and General Day-Lewis for giving me this piece of paper. Has their names on it, not mine. And I'm glad to be left out of this incredible group. I want to thank Jack for he is to me the greatest actor.
So those are the four. Pryor on his own stage, Pacino on his own set, Cavett in his own serious studio, Nicholson on the biggest stage of the year. 4 completely different people, 4 completely different rooms, and the exact same result every time. Which raises the real question, how does one human being do this to everyone? There has to be an engine underneath it. So let me show you what that engine actually was, because it's stranger and simpler than you'd think.
You ever picture different people playing Hamlet, say to be or not to be, like Stallone?
Oh, Stallone.
Mel Gibson just did Hamlet. Pretty good, I hear.
It was wonderful, I hear. It's like great to hear, right?
But Stallone, I couldn't see.
Stallone, you could feel like to be or what, you know.
Schwarzenegger walks into the room. I'm back. Watch out, Denmark.
How one man broke everyone. Here is the thing almost nobody noticed about Robin Williams, even at the absolute peak of his fame. He barely used any material.
Robin era casi como Mohamed Ali en el escenario. Podía tomar cualquier cosa y conquistar a todo el local con ella.
I came to Bombay last year.
Watch the other great comedians of his era, and you'll see beautifully crafted routines, jokes written, sharpened, rehearsed for months until every word lands exactly where it should. Robin had those too. But his real weapon was something far rarer and far harder to copy. Someone in the room would say one small, random, throwaway word, and before they had even finished their sentence, Robin already had an entire routine running off it.
I would love to see Capote and Buckley together.
That'd be right. That'd be incredible. That'd be like...
Can we see what that would be like?
Tag team wrestling?
No, I don't have your...
We should do them both as tag team wrestlers. That'd be great. If I get him in the ring, I will decimate him mentally.
A word about oysters. A word about a phone. A stray comment nobody else even noticed. He'd catch it in mid-air and build a whole world out of it in about 2 seconds. So think of it this way. Most comedians perform at a room like an archer firing arrows at a target. Robin performed off a room like a jazz musician who needs another player to bounce against.
Is this the loved one? All right, start the truck, Johnny. Wow, look at him move! Isn't that incredible, ladies and gentlemen? With just 6 volts, you can make your relatives dance again!
He didn't want a silent audience. He wanted a partner. He needed someone to react to someone, to surprise someone, to play. And that single fact explains every moment we've looked at. These breakdowns always happened face to face because the person next to him was never really the audience. They were the instrument. Pryor, Pacino, Cavett, Nicholson. Robin wasn't ambushing them, he was playing them, the way a musician plays a piano, turning each one into a co-star in a scene they didn't even know had started. And the reason it never once felt cruel comes down to one beautiful habit. He always handed the other person the funniest part. He'd set himself up as the fool, the loud one, the idiot, so that the other person could land the big laugh. A comedian who makes himself smaller so the whole room can feel bigger. Keep that in your mind too, because it's all building to the same place. Now that same engine is exactly what powered his impressions, and he had the nerve to do them with the real person sitting right there in the room.
You got Injustice for All, the present administration going, I'm out of order, you're out of order!
And then, what about hoo-ha? What are you, foghorn leghorn? What's that? Hoo-ha!
Favorite one is Chris Walken. Because they once asked Chris, they said, Chris, if you could have anything in the world, what would you like? A tail. Because you'd know if I was happy, the tail would be up, moving around.
The impressions he did to their faces. Take Christopher Walken. Almost everybody does a Walken impression. The strange pauses, the odd little music in the way he speaks, sentences that stop and start in all the wrong places.
My favorite, a guy to work with who's probably the craziest, most wonderful, is Chris Walken. Because he says things in the weirdest way anybody does. I love you so much.
Robin did one of the very best Walken impressions in the world. And here's the audacious part. He'd do it with Walken himself sitting right there. The two of them building the weirdness together back and forth until you genuinely could not tell where one man ended and the impression began. Robin's favorite Walken story was tiny and perfect. Someone once asked Walken what he would want if he could have anything in the entire world. Walken thought about it seriously and answered, a tail. Just a tail. And Robin would tell that story and slide into the voice, and you'd watch the real Walken sit there and accept it, almost proud of how strange he was. That's the move he pulled on everyone. He'd do Pacino's intensity, De Niro's quiet, let's try it.
He prepared for the scene by doing this kind of "Rah! Rah!" And I was backstage, I went, me. And he got, who did that? Who did that? I went, it's me, Mr. Pacino. Nice to meet you. And he went, oh, hey, Robin, it's you. Okay, we'll start. Let's do this. Let's do this.
The whole gallery of his serious, powerful friends, and he'd do it while they watched.
I had the opportunity of working with Robert De Niro, a very interesting thing, and among all these people here tonight, you've done a lot of movies with him, but none of you bastards broke his nose. I broke his nose. Yeah, Mr. Method Prick. Bam!
Most impressionists need their subject to be absent somewhere far away, unable to push back. Robin wanted them in the room.
For example, in the movie Insomnia, Al said to my character, you're about as mysterious to me as a block toilet is to a f***ing plumber. Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. Also, you had, say hello to my little friend!
The danger was the whole point. The real person sitting there, watching themselves be gently turned into comedy and loving every second of it, that was the magic trick. And it wasn't only actors who couldn't resist him.
I actually was on a German talk show once. This is very true. I was on this German talk show and this woman said, Mr. Williams, why do you think there's not so much comedy in Germany? And I said, did you ever think you tried to kill all the funny people?
The legends who couldn't resist him. There's a story about Marlon Brando that says everything. Brando was maybe the most intimidating, most serious actor who ever lived. A man who made directors nervous. A man who bent entire films around his will. Robin met him once. And Brando, this towering figure, looked at this comedian and told him plainly that he could never work with him.
I didn't get to work with Brando. I met him, and he was very, very excited to go, you're so funny, I couldn't work with you because I'd be laughing all the time and I'd drop my chicken.
Not because he disliked him. The opposite. Because in Brando's own words, he'd be laughing so hard the whole time that he'd drop his chicken. Sit with that picture for a second. Robin Williams could disarm Marlon Brando across a dinner table without telling a single prepared joke. The most fearsome man in the business, reduced to worrying about his lunch just from being near him. And the effect worked, even on rooms that did not want to laugh, rooms that were built on purpose to resist him. He once sat across from a completely stone-faced interviewer on German television, who asked him with total seriousness why there wasn't very much comedy in Germany. Most people would carefully dodge a question like that. Robin looked at her and gently suggested that maybe at some point in their history they had simply gotten rid of all the funny people. Not as an insult, as a soft, devastating observation delivered so lightly that you almost missed how sharp it was. That was the other side of his gift. He could be wild and loud, yes, but underneath the chaos was a mind that was working faster than anyone else in the room.
I have a new application on my phone. It's a moral GPS. It's kind of cool. The girl you're texting is the same age as your daughter. Reroute.
finding the one true thing nobody had the nerve to say, and saying it with a smile. And the natural home for all of this? The field where he was simply unbeatable was the late-night talk show couch.
Good evening, Robin!
Good evening, Graham. Welcome back. Once again, we got some shout-outs. I got one going out right now to Stephen Buck. He wants to shout out to Jess, who's a best friend, and he says, stop texting him. He's not interested.
And they take away things like nail clippers because that could be turned into a weapon. What do they think? You're going to be going, open the cockpit door! Or the bitch loses a hangnail. Come on!
The talk show was his home field. A talk show is supposed to have a rhythm. The host asks a question, the guest gives an answer, maybe a story, maybe a laugh. Back and forth, polite and orderly. When Robin Williams sat down, that rhythm died instantly, and everyone was happier for it. There was no point in preparing questions for him. Hosts learned this the hard way. He'd take the most ordinary topic on earth and turn it into a 5-minute opera. Years after his wild early days sitting on Michael Parkinson's couch in London, he took something as boring as airport security and built an entire symphony out of it. The absurd theater of confiscating a man's nail clippers like they were weapons of war. The strange ritual of taking everything away from a traveler so he can't possibly cause trouble at 30,000 feet. Parkinson barely managed to ask a question. He didn't want to. He just sat back and let the storm happen.
I think it was Billy Connolly who held the record for talking longest without a question prompting it.
He could even make medicine funny.
This graphic is a colonoscopy camera.
No, this is it. This is what you
It's
see.
actually inside your lower intestine right now.
Well, have you had that done, Robin? You must have had that done, I'm sure.
Yes, I did, actually.
You've had the camera.
And I didn't mind the camera, it was the crew that was painful.
On one British show, the host pulled up a medical graphic, the kind of camera image you'd see during a routine internal exam, and asked Robin innocently if he'd ever had the procedure. Most guests would give a quick, embarrassed yes. Robin turned it into a whole scene, complete with the imaginary medical crew chatting away and asking for photo approval while the poor patient just lay there. He found the comedy in the most undignified place imaginable, and he did it without ever being crude about it. It was the situation that was funny, and he simply pointed at it. There was a story he loved to tell about being served a famous, dangerous fish on a drip, a delicacy that can actually kill you if the chef prepares it even slightly wrong.
It's a blowfish. It's called fugu, which sounds like a New York fish. Fugu? Yo, fugu, man! Right here. Here's your fugu. But it's very deadly, and if they cut it slightly wrong...
Yeah, if it's cooked improperly,
boom,
you're
it's
a
like
ghost,
you and the partier.
He describes sitting there, eating this beautiful, deadly meal, realizing mid-bite that one small mistake in the kitchen, and he was finished. The terror and the politeness fighting each other on his face. It's the kind of story 100 people have lived through, but only Robin could make you feel the cold sweat and laugh at the same time. That was the talk show couch with him. Not an interview, a live performance where the host was lucky enough to have the best seat in the house. And then there were the nights when the stage was supposed to be all about him, and he gave it away anyway.
Accepting, since it was only a voice, accepting for Mr. Williams will be Mother Teresa.
It is very wonderful for him.
Mother Teresa, is there anything you want?
I want to direct.
Okay.
His own trophies became other people's jokes. Robin won the biggest awards a performer can win.
Did it change your life?
No, for like a week. It was like, hey, congratulations, way to go. Goodwill Hunting, way to go. 2 weeks later, hey, Mark!
And even those nights, the nights built entirely around honoring him, somehow became other people's highlights. Picture him at one ceremony standing next to a fellow winner who leans over and with a grin points out that he now has one of these trophies for every decade of his career.
We're standing backstage because they're just about to take you to the press conference, and he goes, you know, Robbo, now I have one for every decade.
A friendly little needle. Most people would feel the sting and maybe fire back with something sharp. Robin's response was to get up a little later and accept a completely different award in the voice of Mother Teresa, slipping into a gentle, holy little impression to accept on behalf of someone purely because the bit was funnier than a normal speech would ever be. He turned his own crowning moment into a sketch, because that was simply more fun than being serious about himself. And that's the detail that finally explains the whole man. He could not turn it off. Every microphone he was ever handed became an invitation. Every serious face in front of him became a friendly challenge. And every single legend who stood next to him, the toughest, coolest, most controlled people in the entire industry, walked away looser, warmer, funnier, and more human than they had been 1 minute before. Which brings us at last to the real story. And it isn't a comedy story at all. The funniest thing he ever did. Right at the start, I told you the funniest thing Robin Williams ever did was not actually a joke. Here is what I meant. Go back through everything you just heard. Richard Pryor surrendering on his own stage. Al Pacino softening on his own set. Dick Cavett laughing like a schoolboy. Jack Nicholson handing over the microphone in front of the whole world. Brando worried he'd drop his chicken. The thing that ties all of it together is not that Robin was funnier than these people, it's that he made them funnier. That was the real gift. He would walk into a room full of guarded, performing, carefully controlled, famous people who spent their whole lives managing exactly how the world saw them, and he would quietly take all of that pressure onto his own shoulders. He'd be the foolish one, the loud one, the one who looked silly first. And by doing that, he made it safe for everyone else to finally let go. Remember that word from earlier? Permission. That was the thing he was really handing out in every single one of these moments. Permission to stop being impressive. Permission to laugh in the middle of a serious career. Permission to be a person instead of a legend, just for a minute. The great actors and hosts did not love Robin Williams because he was the funniest man in the room. They loved him because for a few minutes when he was near, he made each of them feel like they were the funniest person alive. And that is a far rarer thing than comic genius. Comic genius makes you laugh. Generosity like that makes you feel seen. Robin Williams happened to have both at the very same time, pointed at whoever was lucky enough to be standing beside him. Once you understand that these aren't just funny clips anymore, they're little portraits of a man whose whole instinct when handed power and a spotlight was to turn around and give it to someone else. So I'll leave the last word with you. Of all the legends, he stood next to Pryor on his own show. Pacino on that set, Nicholson handing over the mic on the biggest night of the year. Which one do you think handled Robin Williams the best? And which one never stood a chance from the moment he walked in? Tell me down in the comments. I read them, and I love hearing which moment hit you the hardest. And if there's a Robin Williams moment you treasure that we didn't get to today, and there are dozens more, leave it below. The next video gets built from your suggestions, so the people he made laugh get to decide who we celebrate next.